My experience at Salvation Army Southview Heights. When I moved into Salvation Army Southview Heights on March 1, 2021, I believed the Salvation Army to be one of the largest and most well-known Christian charitable organizations in the world, dedicated to helping those in need. However, I quickly discovered that reality was far different. Despite its reputation, the Salvation Army operates more like a business. Nearly every month, my caseworker and management reminded me. The Salvation Army is not a charity, we are a non-profit, and we need our money. On top of that, they frequently attempted to charge me twice for rent, adding an extra $48 penalty each time. These financial burdens made it harder for me to afford my essential medical expenses. Instead of receiving the support I expected, I found myself under constant financial strain. Christmas at Southview Heights, a bigger problem. During my first Christmas at Salvation Army Southview Heights, I realized my struggles weren't just mine alone, they were shared by many in the building. Each year, a Christmas fund is collected for staff, and in that year alone, the total reached an impressive $4,800. While this gesture was meant to be a sign of appreciation, tenants voiced serious concerns about the lack of transparency in how the money was handled. As a result, 2 tenants were required to be present during the counting process, a clear sign of the deep distrust toward management. Control over my finances and medical care. The Salvation Army didn't just demand control over my finances, they also tried to take control of my medical care. They insisted that all my prescriptions go through their system and even contacted Canada Revenue Agency, CRA, to have my tax returns redirected to them. Thankfully, my doctor intervened and arranged for my medical care to be handled separately, but not before I endured months of unnecessary stress. Both my doctor and pharmacist even wrote letters to the board, expressing their concerns about the situation. Seeking help, the Ombudsperson's response. In May 2024, I reached out to the British Columbia Ombudsperson's office regarding the treatment I was receiving. I believed the Salvation Army's actions were exploitative, particularly towards vulnerable seniors like myself. But on July 15, 2024, I received a response stating that the Ombudsperson does not have the legal authority to investigate nonprofits like the Salvation Army. Instead, I was told to contact the Salvation Army's Internal Communications Office or the Charities Directorate of the CRA. This response made one thing painfully clear. Canada's legal system is failing the elderly and vulnerable. Lack of financial transparency. Another major issue with the Salvation Army is financial transparency, or the lack of it. Because it operates as a religious organization, it is exempt from many of the financial reporting requirements that secular nonprofits must follow. This raises serious concerns about how their funds are allocated and whether safeguards exist to prevent financial misuse. The bigger picture. This isn't just about me. It's about every vulnerable person who has been ignored, dismissed, or failed by a system that allows organizations like the Salvation Army to operate without accountability. I'm sharing my story because it's time for change. No one should have to fight just to be treated fairly, especially those who rely on organizations that claim to help the vulnerable.